toma que toma.
Hello and welcome to the Zurich Maratón de Sevilla 2022. The eyes of athletics today are set on Andalusia, south of Spain, for today's event. Over 12,000 runners will gather today in the streets of Sevilla to run 42 kilometers and 195 meters. 12,000 different objectives, but all start in the same place, in the Paseo de las Delicias. Go through some of the most iconic sites of the city in what is the flattest marathon in Europe. The goal today for the top runners will be to beat the event record set at 2 hours 4 minutes and 43 seconds for men, 2 hours 18 minutes and 52 seconds for women, both last year by Arrar Abderrahman and Alemu Megertu. A tough job in both cases, but with plenty of candidates on both sides that could be able to achieve it given the right circumstances. Apart from this big goal, there are many other aspirations, not any less important. Numerous national records are in danger of falling, and we will also have a big number of runners aiming to go under the standards that could give them access to the World Championships this summer or even the Olympics. The conditions, as we can see on the screen, a wind of 11 kilometers an hour, humidity 48%, temperature 11 degrees Celsius. It's a cloudy day, but very good day. And next to me I have Pablo Sanchez. Pablo Sanchez, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Daniel.
So we were seeing the conditions today of the weather, and well, we'd like to know what are your insights in terms of what makes Sevilla a good place to have a good mark or a good personal best, whatever the objective is.
As you previously said, we have basically spring conditions here today at Sevilla city. The density altitude we have today in the city makes the conditions for running even easier. Despite we're like around 80 meters in altitude, both the temperature and humidity we have makes it as we are like around 20 meters. So that makes today's conditions for racing even more appealing.
Good. So I'd like to talk a bit of the main candidates we'll have today. Obviously, we'll have plenty of time to go through them and see who are the ones at the front. Our cameras will be focusing on the front group, the front women, and as we were saying as well, we want to focus on some of the possible national records that may be beaten. Who would you like to highlight to start with? Who you think could have a better shot at doing the best time today?
Well, I think today we have Stanley Biwott. He comes from running in Milan in 2016, 2 hour 3:51 marathon. So I think he's a strong contender today in the field. We also have Ayeniu, also running in Sevilla in 2020, 2 hours 4 in the marathon. So these are very two strong contenders today here in the course. On the feminine side, we have Nadina Kadir from Ethiopia, and she's actually debuting in the distance. She comes from running 1 hour 6 minutes 13 seconds in the half marathon. And we have from Poland, very strong team in the last recent years in athletics, Aleksandra Lisowska, running 2:26 in the European Championships in Munich. So I would say these are very strong contenders today here in the race.
Great stuff. So we'll be talking about this possibility of an event record. Where we will refer to it as an event record because it's not exactly a course record. There's been a little change in the route between kilometers 26.5 and 29 due to some works on the road, but basically it's a very similar course. In fact, the small changes there have been in the route even reduced a bit the amount of curves that there were, so a slight more advantage in those terms, but rather a similar condition and course to what we could expect from previous years. This is a table we can see of the course and world record in terms of the women. Earlier we saw the men's numbers, and well, the running pace for those course records, those event records, sorry, to understand it to a usual runner, what is the pace per kilometer of those two times?
Actually, they're quite fast paces. We would say for men to run around 2 hours 4 minutes. That would be just under 3 minutes per second per kilometer to 58 minutes per kilometer. And on the women's, that would be for running a 2 hours 18 minutes 51 seconds marathon. That would be around 3 minutes 18 seconds per kilometer.
Okay, so both times quite unreachable even for a single kilometer for the most of us mortals, but it's always great to see. So the start of the race is expected for 8:30. It's just 8:20 now here in Central European time in Spain. The Sevilla Marathon, a race that started in 1985 with just a few hundred runners. The winners then were 2 hours 21 minutes and 23 seconds were Francisco Medina, and on the women's side it was Wendy Harris with 3 hours 12 minutes and 9 seconds. And since then the race has been growing in terms of participation. In 2009 it was already 4,000 the people who would gather to run in the city of Sevilla, and in 2020, just weeks before everything clashed due to the pandemic, we had the record of participation of 13,697. Today we are over 12,000 runners here ready for the start, so we are recovering, getting closer to the numbers we had prior to the pandemic. Obviously, we hope that it's been left behind. It certainly looks that way, but it's undeniable that the COVID-19 pandemic took a toll on athletics and mass events of this kind.
Yeah, absolutely, Daniel. Also during the pandemics, the last period, it made quite difficult as well preparing races like this, because the start line was broken into blocks of runners, and basically you would run with people that you were not like directly competing, and then you have like chip time then at the end of the race. That would make the rankings a bit more difficult to understand the ones you're racing. So very happy to see like normality coming back to athletic events like this, and that I think that makes life of our athletes a bit easier when racing.
Good. So yeah, we've been left with some curious images throughout these last couple of years, as we see in the images the runner from Israel, Bukayawe Malede, 2 hours 9:28 in Amsterdam 2021. And well, as we were saying, yeah, there's some definitely curious images that will go down in history. We've seen, as you were saying, the slots separated in the start, the people starting races with a mask on and then having to take them off. And well, it's about to start what will be the first people to set off the runners in the hand bikes, as we see another candidate. We have various Kenyan participation amongst many others. Obviously, we will highlight the strong African candidates to run today, but we will also have some runners from the rest of Europe who could be of interest, and also even Latin American representatives. We've got Cristian Pacheco from Peru, Héctor Garibay Flores from Bolivia, Joaquim Emanuel Arde from Argentina, Jorge Castelblanco from Panama, Derlis Alaya from Paraguay, Jason Alexander Suarez from Colombia, and Nicolas Cuesta from Uruguay. And we'll go through them, as this is the international broadcast. We'll try and get you as much information as possible out of the runners of the numerous countries represented today in Sevilla. We'll have the split times, usually around the 5 kilometers, each 5 kilometer marks. We'll be following the times that will allow us to see if these candidates are on time to catch those records. We have an Ethiopian candidate here
Yeah, we have Getahan on screen. She has a marathon time of 2 hours 22 minutes in Milan in 2022, and I think she's going to be one of our favorites to follow today on the screen with the race bib F51.
Eva, ¿desde dónde llega? Desde Madrid. ¿Desde Madrid? ¿Primera vez en Sevilla? No, cuarta ya.
Okay, so
Eres una veterana.
people already gathered together here at the Paseo de las Delicias. Already, as we were saying, to start in this hand bike race. And just to go through, I mean, Sevilla is one of the, I'd say, nicest marathons you can run. Certainly, in terms of the balance between the beauty of the course and the possibilities of having a good time, because we will now go through the course, as you were saying, where we'll have the start with the Torre del Oro, the Plaza de Toros de Maestranza, Puente de la Barqueta. We'll go through the Barrio La Triana, and then we'll go back through a bit between those Torre del Oro and La Maestranza. We'll go through the main station of Santa Justa, both football top flight stadiums in the city, Plaza España, La Macarena, and then through the Giralda and the Catedral de Sevilla, right before arriving to those 42 kilometers and 195 meter marks. So really it's one of those races that apart from the elite, all the people who run it, I think, really enjoy the course, because it's something really particular about road races, is the psychological aspect of running. I mean, I've not done a marathon myself, but I could feel a difference when running 10k on the track and 10k in a city. Psychologically, it's a huge difference. Obviously, I don't want to know what running a marathon like on the track would be, but I'm sure that the difference between running through beautiful sights of this kind and running through a different kind of circuit really make it a better experience.
Yeah, Daniel, I mean, I haven't run a marathon myself, but I can assure that both running 10k on the track that I've done or a 10k on a road race, it's a huge difference, especially on the psychological side, right? Enjoying a city like Sevilla with the pleasure of running through such a beautiful city with a chill out environment that you can see around, beautiful buildings and surroundings, makes, I think, this race even more special that we can see today. Also, maybe in comparison to others major marathons in Spain that I have the opportunity to also to go and watch. I must say this makes a very special race here in Sevilla with this such beautiful buildings we can see around the circuit.
Yeah, certainly we've had the possibility of spending the weekend here and meeting a few of the runners that have come here, each of them with their own set of goals, some of them running their first marathon, some of them running their 20th marathon, but they've all coincided to say that Sevilla is a fantastic place to be, and this is one of the nice things with sport, being able to get to know new places, and nice places such as Andalusia and Sevilla, where of course things like the food and the weather, even so, I mean, considering we're in February and the yesterday we had a perfectly sunny day, and I think even the slight amount of mist that we have today, the light clouds, make it even better to run. So we've had a perfect weekend as we see the start of the handbike races, and in just a few moments we'll be having the kickoff of the full race.
Absolutely, we should get our eyes stuck to the TV since this very moment. As you say, this mist we have today here in the city makes very special conditions, as we may have even less wind during the course. And also, what you were commenting, I have many friends from.
Oh, yeah, just a second, Pablo, as we'll see in just a few seconds the start of the race. All set and ready for the start of this Zurich Maratón de Sevilla 2022. Everyone in the line, and there it goes. 12,000 runners starting at this very moment to run around 42 kilometers and 195 meters through the beautiful city of Sevilla. And show is on. Well, what the feelings when you start a race, it's there's not much to do. The gun goes and you just in it and you think it's now. I've got to do it. Yeah.
It's totally now. I think every single runner here has been for at least months preparing. I think this race, waiting for that gun shot to go, to go, and let all the adrenaline and the nerves just go away since this very moment. And you can see her now here in the street, like the faces of happiness and pure joy of all the athletes here today in the grounds, right? We can see now the head of the race. We can see most of the African runners now heading the race. Yeah, and this looks like a very fast race today in the field.
Beautiful images as we see the Paseo de las Delicias absolutely packed with these 12,000 runners today. We'll soon focus into the front group as the pacing groups get set, but we can enjoy at the moment the first images as we see the first interesting sights.
As we can, just one technical comment on the start. It looks like the organization has done a really great job, I think, to organize this start of the race. Everything looks like it's running really smooth. Runners are running, I think, quite spaced between themselves and quite comfortable. I think this makes the race even nicer and a much better experience for our runners today in the field. Daniel, yeah. We can see now on our screen we have seen our Torre del Oro. It's one of the most emblematic, I think, buildings we have in the course today. We will run again back Torre del Oro in kilometer 12. It's a tower built in the 13th century. It's next to the Guadalquivir river that baths the city of Sevilla. And it used to be a prison in the Middle Ages, Daniel.
Right. Today they'll go past it twice, just at the start, and we have this first loop in which the runners will start up until kilometer 4 more or less, where they'll be crossing the Puente de la Barqueta. Then they'll go past the Rio de Guadalquivir and they'll make all this loop back to the other side, more or less in parallel to what was the start. Getting around the streets of the Barrio La Triana, and then crossing it again, we'll see it again, and we'll have the Torre del Oro and the bullfighting place of La Maestranza.
Absolutely, I totally believe this is a very nice marathon, both to watch on TV and to run on the course, just to enjoy the beauty of the city of Sevilla.
So we have two runners ahead. There's Tarus Philip Kipbrono and Kirwa Novestus Kipkosgei. These are the two runners that have taken the lead at the moment to carry the rest of the pack, and they have the responsibilities of trying to more or less work at that rhythm of the event record, as we were commenting. They'll be moving at a rhythm of 2 minutes and 50 seconds per kilometer. And at the moment we see both pacers together, both men from Kenya at the moment taking the lead, as we do see in the background the Plaza de Toros of La Maestranza. It's well, the Plaza de Toros, the Real Maestranza de Caballería Sevilla. It's one of the oldest bullfighting rings in Spain. It's the place of the bullfights of the famous celebrations of the city here in April, the Feria de Abril. And it's one of the most attractive monuments of the city. And one of the ones in the city that receives the most visitors. It's considered one of the hardest places to fight bulls for its disposition, but also apparently for the demanding fans that attend it. And I believe that we'll have a few demanding fans as well today around the circuit. On this Sunday morning, Sevillans waking up to see elite runners in the front, but 12,000 of them in total. And especially this part of the circuit as a loop serves well for the fans who want to see more than once the circuit going around them, as we still see in the starting line some of the runners still making their beginning of the race.
Yeah, we've seen in the screen Kipchoge and Kip Chrono, both athletes from Kenya. They're pacing the race to mark 1 hour 2 minutes half marathon today here, and I think they're doing now a great job here. They're actually running at the moment 6 minutes. This is just under 3 minutes per kilometer at this very moment. That they are actually just past the 2 kilometer mark, and they are maintaining a very solid pace from the start at the moment. Actually, I mean, this would be quite an easy job for them, right? They want to set standards pretty high since the beginning and keep the momentum and the flow of the race keep going from the beginning.
Yeah, we see them now going in one of the very few changes of flatness in the circuit. We remind you that this is a very flat circuit, the flattest marathon in Europe, accumulating just 10 meters of difference in the whole of the circuit. And here just very slight going down under that bridge and going back up again in what will be the first time that the runners feel some difference in their legs.
We can see Nicolas Navarro there just behind the pacers. Nicolas Navarro from France. He's a very strong contender here, looking then for maybe for the national record in France. We can see a very strong start from the French athlete, just behind the pacers this morning. From a technical side, we must say that in a marathon we should be conservative from the beginning, especially in such a flat course as Sevilla today, because just your legs they will just would like to go on and on and on, and we have to be maybe slightly conservative, no, to save our energies for the second half of this marathon in order to be able to finish quite strong. But this looks great. I think athletes look really motivated here. They look strong. It is quite catchy, the technique we can see here on the screen. And yeah,
we see an extended line at the moment. There's not been a clear group defined. We'll have these two paces starting right on the clock. Maybe the ones right in behind taking an eye on what maybe their immediate competition might be doing. It's always good to start in progression, and it's obviously not easy to throw in directly to those kind of rhythms. And at the moment, as you were saying, Nicolas Navarro is the man stuck right behind the two main pacers, and we see the group of Africans just around 5 meters behind.
Yeah, we currently see these athletes running around just under 3 minutes per kilometer. We're expecting to have a just under 15 minutes mark on the 5K. We will also use that as a reference for the rest of the race, but that will be my initial bet for the current pace of this first pack of 3 runners. We can see now I think this is the second group of the race. We see 2 pacers there at the front as well, trying to stick with the head of the race.
Just reaching the 10-minute mark now, and we see now the second group trying to stretch on. And there's a runner catching up. In fact, they're even having a chat there.
I think that is Kiplagat trying to join the group to get the race stuck. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, there was a bit of a communication there, like a curious scene where we saw Kiplagat go forward to have a chat with the pacers. You think that kind of thing, at those rhythms, having a talk is something that usually you would only see in these kind of distances, maybe half marathon, maybe the marathon, and it's interesting to see how there's actually been a progress to read the race. It's pacing is a difficult job. We know that, and the fact that they have to stick to the clock is something that makes them sometimes a bit nervous, because I understand there's a lot of pressure coming into a job of this responsibility, but obviously it's not easy to work from the start. So we see Héctor Garibay Flores from Bolivia in the images.
Héctor Garibay has a 2 hour 9 minutes mark in Sevilla 2022, actual national record holder for Bolivia, and he's a very strong contender today here in the race today. As you were commenting before, if it's normal to have this kind of communications in a race, this is very, very normal, even in cross-country races between teammates or pacers who are having who are actually controlling the race. It's really important to have this kind of communications, right? Even in cycling races, teams use more radio equipment to enhance these communications. On the field, on athletics, maybe for obvious reasons we don't carry radio stations, but there's normally a very open communication between athletes, verbal communications. Even in middle distance running on the track, it can be quite common to see communication between the athletes. That can be verbal or non-verbal, I must say.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that you bring in the comparison with cycling. It's obvious that in the recent decade it's actually made a huge change in the way that sport works. And if we compare it to athletics, obviously there's not the same toll taken in terms of the wind, because the speed is different. I don't think today we'll have many problems with wind. You can correct me if you think I'm mistaken, but I think they're quite comfortable in that sense. The pacers are not working to cover any kind of work against them in terms of the wind. We can even see a bit of space between Nicolas Navarro and the pacers. I think he's playing a bit safe, just to not crash into the legs of both men in responsibility in front. But yeah, communication is something that has developed, and the tactics, it's interesting to see the differences between team events and individual events, but it is a team job in the end, if you take into consideration that these men are working to carry the rest of the pack.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, for the last, I must say, 10 years, 15 years in athletics, we've seen, I think, a slight change in the way races and events are organized. Like, teams are packing and organizing themselves much differently than before, right? Despite running, athletics being an individual sport, with time we have seen that teaming between rivals even or team members throughout the race makes the opportunity to run faster much easier, right? I mean, I don't know if you felt that yourself when training, maybe with friends, with colleagues or your teammates, just to share a long run with 2 or 3 buddies there. I think that will make the session much easier than if you go by yourself, right? So when we move this into competition, that makes things so much easier. Apart from the physical considerations that if you run in a group, that can block any kind of wind, or just the draft you can get from, as we can see here, for example, in a race, right? You're running just behind 3 athletes. that protection you get there and the energy you save there. There are many scientific papers published there that can corroborate that. We can see on screen Spanish athlete Daniel Mateo. Daniel Mateo, Olympian Spanish athlete with 2 hour 8 minutes marathon time, and actually he's the Spanish hour record holder with 20.6 kilometers. Dani Mateo is a very strong contender. He trains in the north of Spain in very harsh conditions, currently training on snowy environments or very rainy and cold environments, and I think he's a very strong and mentally prepared athlete for today, one of the favorites here in Spain.
Yeah, so we just gone past the mark of the 5 kilometers, and we see that there's an advantage of 7 seconds, so well carried at the moment, and there's a stretch group reaching at this point, so we've got it right on time for the expected objective of breaking this event record. As we were saying, the differences that we'll be showing in terms of the event record will be compared to this exact point as it was done in last year's event record by Arrar Abderrahman, and this will be the difference shown to which point we were then. We see next to Dani Mateo Jorge Blanco now.
Jorge Blanco is also a favorite Spanish athlete today in the battlefield. He's the national marathon champion with 2 hour 11 minutes 34 seconds marathon time, but run in Zaragoza. Zaragoza, it's a city in Spain, 200 meters above sea level, so running today in Sevilla for Jorge should make things easier, and hopefully he will match his personal record in the marathon. And he comes here looking for both for a PB and for an international standard in the marathon for Jorge today.
Yeah, both of them were part of the European Championships teams for Spain this summer in Munich, and as you were saying, they'll be aiming for these international standards to make it into the World Championships in Budapest this summer. We see the leaders of the women with Malindi Elmore from Canada. She's got 2 hours 24 minutes and 50-second mark done in Houston in 2020.
But it's a great mark for marathon. We must say the Olympic qualifying pace time, will be 2 hours 26. So obviously she's a very strong contender today here in the field. We're going to see very fast races from the women today.
Right now we can see Alia Mohamed from the United Arab Emirates. She's the leading woman at the moment. It's her debut in marathon. In half a marathon, she's got a time of 1:06:13 done in Valencia 2018. That is the woman now leading. As we now change the images back into a group of men.
Yeah, that is a very fast half marathon pace. We would expect time of under 2 hours 20 minutes for her today if she can maintain that half marathon pace today in the field. We can see the French contender now inside the group there, maybe getting more of the benefits of running in a group. The pacers are doing a great job today. We can see there has been relays between the pacers. We have a bigger group pack there, and we can see Ageniu Gebre from Ethiopia. She's a 2 hour 4 minute athlete, and she's looking pretty strong there.
As we go back into the group of the leading Spanish men,
we have very strong teams there. We have teams from Bikila, from Adidas, Asics. There we see Jorge Blanco wearing that new ASICS equipment there in the field. Jorge has been training very hard in a high altitude center in Granada, in Sierra Nevada. He's been preparing this race for years. We've been there, we've seen there a small...
Yeah, there's been a small tumble. These things obviously can happen, as we were saying before with Nicolas Navarro, they were keeping some space. And these are at the moment the goal set for some of the candidates to break national records. As we're seeing, Nicolas Navarro is on time, but also from Peru we've got Cristian Simeón Pacheco Mendoza right on time. There is Guillermo Aguare from Israel above it, and Joaquim Manuel Arbe from Argentina could be breaking that. Carlos Martín Díaz del Río is right almost 30 seconds, under 27 seconds, and Cristian Zamora was another one of the candidates from Uruguay there.
Yeah, we see there athletes running just under the national record there. That is looking pretty promising for today. But on a marathon, such a long field day ahead, I must say the athletes should be stay humble, stay conservative throughout the course, and save some energy for that second half of the marathon, right? But this is looking great for today, as we've said. Like the meteo is in, motivation is in. I think runners are looking pretty strong here, and this is looking like a very fast race today. And I would bet that a lot of national records are going to be beaten today here.
We continue to see in the images the leading woman, Mekwant Ayenaugebre, surrounded by 5 men covering that first women's group, but there are up to 3 women leading there comfortably, and at the moment there are no differences between them. We go back into the group of the Europeans.
Some of the Europeans we've seen now on screen, most of the athletes we see here, some of them they race as well in 10K races. Most of the people running in this pack are 28 minutes 10K athletes. I mean, I think that is pretty impressive for the distance. We can see on screen Malindi Elmore from Canada. She's running just under 1 second faster for her national Canadian record, and Meritxell Soler from Spain just ran the 5th kilometer mark in 17:17 as well, just racing under that national record. This is looking great today here in Sevilla.
Yeah, Meritxell Soler today making her debut in the marathon in the full distance. She is though the Spanish record holder for the half marathon with 1 hour 10 minutes and 36 seconds. It'll be interesting to see what her adaptation is like to this double distance of the one she managed to break the national record for. She'll be trying to chase the Spanish national record that was set recently in Valencia by Marta Galimany, her fellow Catalan partner, and that time was set in 2 hours and 26 minutes and 14 seconds, breaking Ana Isabel Alonso's of 2 hours 26 and 56 seconds. So one of the main focuses of attention today, at least for the Spanish media, will be that debut of Meritxell Soler today here in Sevilla.
Yeah, we have many athletes today in the field debuting on the distance. That is, I think, pretty positive for the sport. Trying to make an impact on their marathon pace, right? Stepping up from half marathon to marathon is something big, and it's really positive. Now they come to Sevilla to try get the best possible mark for the distance. And that makes today's race quite fancy, to watch, to follow from this very moment. And stay tuned here all morning here to watching this Sevilla Marathon 2023. We can see on screen Bethel Chumba from Kenya, 2 hour 6 minute athlete. We can see there in the group. I don't know what you think, Daniel, but just looking at the legs, all of these athletes is just like so catchy, right? I mean, all running so coordinated there on a group. I think they're getting a huge physical advantage there, which is very positive. It is something that is positive for the sport, and that helps runners there.
Yeah, you were saying the change from half marathon to a marathon. We've seen in the recent years going into marathons, I think some debuts, like in terms of people arriving with great times in half marathon and having the aspiration of going on to the full marathon with great ambition. I remember recently the example of Lete Sembekidei, who went on to try the full marathon distance, and I believe it was the best debut in history, but it obviously didn't reach the full world record because it can't be that easy. I mean, we're talking about brilliant athletes that obviously are adapted to all kind of distances. In this case, we were talking about the world record holder in the 10,000, but there's something special about this distance. You just can't explain it until you've lived it. Going from the 21k to the 42k, there's all different kind of stories going in. It's not simple mathematics. Obviously that's why we enjoy so much this sport now, but sometimes I think we've set this aspiration so high of coming in with great marks in the half marathon, and something very necessary in all kinds of new distances that you get into taste is getting used to it, as we see in the images from Panama. Jorge Castelblanco, 2 hours 9 minutes and 49 seconds in Valencia 2020.
Totally right, Daniel. I mean, running a marathon is not just running 2 half marathons. Normally, if we want to be technical here, we can expect a 12-minute mark difference between your half marathon time and the finish time in a marathon. And from the physiological point of view, it's completely a whole different story, right? I mean, from the cell mitochondria point of view, both the glucose and the fat deposits in a half marathon or a marathon. We can see here the athletes taking nutrition during the race, which is key for performance. Most of the things they might ingest at this very moment are not for these actual moments, but what they're taking now is part of the energy they will be using in the following 5-8 kilometers. And what I was saying, from the physiological point of view, it's a whole different story. How the body manages both mainly glucose and fat storages here make the race completely different. But this is looking from inside the body, not from outside. Okay, and that's what makes this distance so hard, right?
Yeah. So we were seeing the first provisioning of the race. And well, in this case, the elite racers have their particular drink and mix of salts dedicated to them. There will obviously be many regular mortal runners, I will call it, that get through the usual provisioning of all different kinds of liquids and salts and even some food in some conditions. How can that affect, and what's the big difference between an elite racer and a usual mortal racer in terms of the diet inside the race?
The main difference that would be, I mean, well, the nutrition, I mean, what you intake and the products you have available are exactly the same, right? The main difference is the finish time you have. So basically, you will have to make an independent nutrition plan for each and every one athlete. You can see here, because their metabolism and the way they digest food would be different. But what you need to take, the main point to take into account here, that would be your finish time. You would need to give your body the sufficient energy to run 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 hours. So that's what makes the main difference for nutrition aspects there. So you would need to make a good combination of both glucose, salts, and maybe as well stimulants like caffeine are used for racing to get you to have a clear mind, also make fatigue sensations easier, and make a more successful end of the race, right?
Yeah, so that I understand the main difference is the amount of hours that you're exposing your body to these conditions.
The nutritional aspect on races in the recent years, it's very closely linked to cycling. It's been very, very interesting.
We now have the mark of the 10 kilometers in 29:28, so that's 10 seconds better than the event record that is aimed to be broken today.
Exactly, we're racing just under the race record, which is that is I think a very good mark there. But we still need to be patient to see how the race goes on, right? I mean, it's a very flat course, and we expect to have very consistent paces throughout the race. This is looking great. We should keep our eyes stuck on the screen dial to see how this evolves. But this is looking really, really positive. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we have to take into consideration it's early into the race. Still, we've got Kipkoskei and Kipgrono doing their task as pacers, but obviously one of the great things about Sevilla is this flatness of the race, but that can also fool us to think that maybe at this point we are accomplishing objectives and we're just around 1/4 of the full race for the top runners, so still pretty early into the game. We have, by the way, we've been able to hear a few times the music animation points, apart from the provisioning of drinks and salts that they might be getting. There's also the animation of 23 music points done by different DJs and musicians here, so something to value as well, as we have, apart from the cheering of the crowd we can see on both sides of the street. There's also that obviously helps, and as you get further back into the pack of the race, you can see that there's more interaction with them.
Yeah, that totally makes a whole difference, right? When you're racing, especially Sevilla Marathon, I think between kilometer 5 and kilometer 10, maybe due to the suburbs that the race goes through, you might see, as we can see maybe in screen, few less people throughout the course. Despite we have a very nice weather, people look like they're cheering their fans on the race, and that of course makes a whole different story, right, in the race.
Yeah, we've gone past, since kilometer 10, we've gone past the Barrio La Triana, which is the historic and cultural center of the city. The origins of this neighborhood go back to the first Roman settlement, and it's well known for being the place of rising of flamenco singers, dancers and guitarists. And also something to highlight is the presence in the Plaza del Altozano Square. We have the pottery traditional makers, and inside of this area we have some points of interest that include the Castillo San Jorge, the Triana Market, the Betty Street or Triana Bridge. So definitely one of the areas to visit whenever one gets the chance to visit Seville.
Absolutely. Before the race we passed quite near the Estadio de la Cartuja. This is where the race used to finish on previous edition, so maybe as well, if you feel a little bit nostalgic on the history of the race, that might be as well an emblematic place to visit on the city that has to do with the marathon itself.
Yeah, you were saying the Estadio La Cartuja used to have an athletics track. Now it's been cleared as the stadium to be used for events of other sports, and the event of the marathon was changed back into this Paseo de las Delicias start and finish, and that's what we're testifying today.
Yeah, that's totally right. The athletics track in the Estadio Cartuja is not operative anymore. That has happened as well in Spain, in other different stadiums. For example, in the Metropolitan Stadium in Madrid, where Atletico plays at the moment as well. Something similar happened there.
Yeah, beautiful images now as the runners cross back the Guadalquivir and will pass very close to just where they started, just a few hundred meters from where the race began, and we go past the Torre del Oro soon enough. As we gave a comment earlier on, we can see it right in the background there, the tower placed at the side of the Guadalquivir and covered next to the Plaza de Real Maestranza as well, and they'll be going past that again around the 13th kilometer.
Yeah, I think the pacers and the race they're running just on the clock, the mark. They're running 2:57 per kilometer on this kilometer 12 mark. Sorry. This is running pretty smoothly, pretty fast, and hopefully we're expecting a fast race here today. We can see many athletes there pursuing their records. We see here a small group trying to catch with the following groups on the top part of the race.
We have the main group of Europeans here breaking up, but we get the images of the first woman in the handbike just parallel to the front runners, still carried by the main pacers there. Still Kip Kosgei and Kip Brono following the plan. As we go back into the aspirations of national records with on the objectives, Jairo Alame from Israel, Nicolas Navarro and Samuel Sesgai. Nicolas Navarro, the Frenchman, and Samuel Sesgai, Denmark. We've gone Christian Simeon Pacheco Mendoza from Peru, also 25 seconds under the objective. And Chile, Carlos Martín Díaz del Río, Christian Zamora, and Klinur Andersson for Iceland. Good time there by Andersson, 1 minute and 14 seconds. So great pace there, and it does look like the man from up north is right on track to breaking that national record.
Yeah, that's looking pretty solid there. I think he's running in a very solid group there. That might look a bit fast maybe on the split between the national record, but as we said before, this athlete running in this group with the benefits of running in this pack, I think it's looking great for the Iceland athlete.
So at the moment the men in front, as we were saying, Kirwa Novestos Kip Kosgei and Bedwell Chumba, and we see in parallel first woman as well, Alia Mohamed and Muluhat Seska Chekol. Those are the two women in front. Also Sechale Dalasa is upright there with them.
Totally right. We have in there as well in the pack group the Irish athlete Sergio Ciobanu, that he's also running for his national record in Ireland there. Pretty solid content, and we have as well in the field enjoying the race here today.
As the group with the first women, as we were saying, Alia Mohamed, Mulugbat, Teska Chekol and Sechale Dalasa. Those are the women in front, but also Urge Diros Soboka and Yenesh Tilahundingesa are stuck there in a pace of 3 minutes and 15 seconds per kilometer, which would allow us to break that event record. The pace at the moment for the men looks just above it, though. I think the initial stretch from the pacers was called back to put just one gear down, and we've currently got it at 3 minutes and 3 seconds per kilometer. We go back into the group of Europeans. We see on the right side, running in red with Bobby Kila, Ibrahim Chakir. This would be his first marathon, full marathon finish in his debut today. So an attempt for Chakir there to complete the full distance of 42 kilometers and 195 meters. We also have a couple of runners there.
Yeah, Ibrahim Chakir from Spain. He's a 2-hour 13 marathon runner done in Zaragoza and the championship, the national championships last year. So coming here, I think, down to Sevilla today would make things faster, hopefully for the athletes.
So missed that one there, and we could also see in front of that European group Abderrazak Charik from France. He's got a time of 2 hours 13 minutes.
Exactly. We see on the screen national athlete Pablo Villalobos, very solid athlete there, from recently retired from the elite marathon in Spain, helping out, I think, other athletes there in the field today.
Things continue in the same way for women in terms of the order, although there is a bit of an initial stretch as Alia Mohamed tries to break a little bit, forcing Chekol to chase behind. We'll see if that manages to make a difference and define some of the separate women there and leave it only with podium candidates. See there a group of around 6-7 women in the front group, so still things keeping together. Go back to the front where things haven't changed much in the last minute.
Yeah, we can see in this screen the different shoes the athletes are wearing here. Over the past years.
Yeah, it's one of the big debates, right, of the recent years, but at the same time, it's one of the things that has made it really attractive, and we've had brilliant times.
Absolutely, we must say that. I mean, obviously, and most of these shoes might have made a difference, right, on the performance or the results on many races. I had the opportunity to try some of these shoes on the both road races and track races myself, and I must say the main difference you might feel with this kind of shoes, with the previous technologies we've used on the shoes, is the ability to recover better from race to race, from athletes, right? I mean, I must say they won't affect very much directly on the final mark athletes would do on a race, but how they recover better from each training session, right? And that is directly or indirectly then related on the performance and the results of the athletes. So, and I think.
Right, it's interesting to evaluate what are the differences in the introduction of the carbon fiber plates, because they have been brought to all kinds of events. We can even see it introduced into sprinting shoes, where there's a bit of some things waking up in terms of the injuries that this might cause. Basically, it doesn't have a direct effect in the injuries, but it's changing the kind of efforts. And I've heard this in sprinters, not so much in runners, although I believe there is some difference certainly in how you get to develop your technique because of the way you're moving, maybe directly from the awareness of having a different shoe and you're running in a different way, and that can cause, no, I'm not saying that it causes more injuries, but it goes into making you force muscles that were not working as much before. And I've heard from a few sprinters that they have had injuries in areas where in previous years they had not been suffering so many issues. So it's something interesting. No, when a new technology comes in, obviously it has many pros, and in this case I think the cons have changed of place.
Absolutely, and that is very much related with the strength and conditioning planning an athlete should do throughout the season. But of course, from what you were saying, right, on the muscle compensations point of view, these shoes have changed the paradigm, and they've changed how the foot lands on the ground and how it takes off back again. Of course, a very improved energy return on the legs, on the muscles, but of course make different muscles of your body work on a different way, and that might cause different overloads on the body, right?
You were saying, no, but the importance of strength training, because obviously as long distance runners have to work in their stamina, and some maybe, obviously maybe not at the elite level, but if you go back into the packs of usual runners, sometimes they focus more on other kinds of training. Now we're going just into the kilometer 15, and we see that they're 9 seconds above it. So up until kilometer 10 they were saving time. They had 10 seconds of advantage with the course record, and at this point there's clearly been a change. There's been a loss of 19 seconds in the last 5 kilometers.
Yeah, in order to beat the race record today, the 15-meter mark will be 44:25-ish. They've just passed for the course record 44:21, so that is looking really on the spot. Athletes are running just on time, and I think this is really positive towards a second part of the race. Hopefully we'll see here the different mitochondria, different metabolisms actually start to work just after kilometer 30. We were commenting before on the difference between a half marathon and a marathon. This is now where we will see physiology and cell power here on the race, and we will see what athletes are able to excel and to go over that 30-kilometer mark and finish strongly. I think this is the most beautiful part of the race now.
We see now in the images Meritxell Soler, her debut in the marathon, coming from this Spanish record of 1 hour 10:36, and we see her accompanied by a couple of teammates from Club Athletic Manresa. In fact, the man in front is the couple of Meritxell Soler, and he's Abel Casali, also a usual runner at regional level, and this is also something quite usual and nice to see. The love goes throughout into sport in working in such an objective as in this case her first marathon, and who knows what kind of times we could be facing, but if not today, I'm sure Meritxell Soler at some point could be a strong candidate to break the Spanish national record. As we go back into the group of the leading women, things continue more or less the same with this pack of 6-7 women together, but still Alia Mohamed is the woman in front. We have some insights now of the aspirations of national record with Malindi Elmore from Canada, still 16 seconds of advantage in respect to her aspirations, and in the case of Meritxell Soler it's 9 seconds. Obviously, as we were saying, it's an ambitious goal to break a national record in this case for a debutant. But up until now, the things are working smoothly. We will see, although, that at what point can this really take an effect on someone that has never run a marathon before?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're on the doors of seeing now true performance. Maybe we're reaching that point that we were expecting to see, right? How the athlete will actually perform at this very moment, and at that moment of uncertainty, right? Uncertainty on quotations, right? Because I think these athletes have been preparing for this for months, if not years, and they've gone through very similar training sessions, both in high altitude, in different conditions, and an athlete who's running at this kind of pace pretty much comes here really strongly prepared for the event. So if we see that they're running right on the spot, just under the national record pace, it looks like they are running like really well, and if they get on with their nutrition well and everything runs smoothly, this is looking pretty good today here in the field in Sevilla.
We were seeing the mark for the 15 kilometers for women, and it's 7 seconds under that record. So although 2 hours and 18 minutes and 52 seconds look maybe as a tougher time to beat, the ones accomplishing it at the moment are the women, because apart from the fact that they are 7 seconds underneath, the pack is still well together, with 6-7 candidates up in that front women's group. So we could have a pleasant surprise today with the women's course record. We go back into the group of men, clearly led by the Africans there, as I believe one of the paces that we had at the beginning.
Sorry, Daniel, we see on the screen, Cristian Simeon Pacheco from Peru, 2 hours 9 minutes 8 seconds, marathoner in Lima 2022. Looking quite solid there, quite strong in the race, really well surrounded by other athletes. Really strong there for Cristian. Just reminding, the Peruvian national record is just under 2 hours 9 minutes. That would mean he should be running around 3 hours 3 minutes 5 seconds per kilometer on this 52-minute mark of the race. This athlete is probably running now just under the mark, so I think the Peruvian national record as well is on a threat today here in Sevilla.
Yeah, just like one step ahead of him is Héctor Garibay Flores from Bolivia with exactly the same time.
Okay.
So both have the same objective, and if they do manage to get in together, they'd be breaking 2 South American country records.
We have very similar national records in Peru, in Bolivia, Argentina, and Panama. So we should see if we see a pack of runners from all of these countries, Peru, Bolivia, Argentina, Panama, racing together. If they stick together, most probably will beat all the national records here today in Sevilla. I think that's quite promising for the event today. As we were commenting before on the strength and conditioning part, new muscles getting achy or different feelings there with the shoes. What would you think that might happen when you get this? Does a strong muscle hurt, or what would you think? Or it's a weak muscle that is hurting there?
So just a second, we see Samuel Fidwi for the first time. It's his debut from Germany. He's got 1 hour 1 minute 56 in Dresden in 2021. Yeah, so we were saying in terms of the strength and the effect that might have. Enlighten me, I don't know. Absolutely.
What I was trying to say there, Daniel, is like Most probably, and depending on the athlete there, right? If the athlete, you change the biomechanics, right, and he's getting an aching muscle, that might be a muscle that is overworking there, and that muscle might be a strong one, right? There'll be other muscles that are not doing their job, and this muscle is taking his job, so that it could be a positive insight for the strength and conditioning coach to work also on these other muscles, so we get overall a stronger athlete there, which I think is a very important point, not only for sprinters, moreover even for endurance runners, as we can see here in the marathon, right?
Right before this, we just saw the images of the front men, and we confirmed that Kirwa Novestus Kipkosgei has left the race. He was one of the initial pacers, and that was probably the plan. And we now have the time differences for women in terms of kilometer 15. So as we confirmed just earlier, we already saw, but we can have now the differences between 5, 10 and 15 kilometers. And as we see, all goes according to plan. We get Melichin Soler and Abel Kazali again in the images.
Yeah, that 49-minute mark is way under the Olympic qualifying paces of 2 hours 26 minutes. Also, that is just under the race record, 49 minutes 27 seconds. That would be the pace for the 15th kilometer mark for the race record. So yeah, we're having here a pre-race today here in Sevilla. Hopefully things will continue like this. And I'm really enjoying today's race. I think this is going solid, and it's looking promising towards the second half of this race.
Yeah, you were having a say on the standards for the Olympic, but we will remind that the immediate major championship that we have this summer is the Budapest World Championships. The standard for the men, as you were saying, 2 hours 9 minutes 40 seconds. For women, 2 hours 28. The World Championships in the marathon always have a special effect. That this team mentality we might have talked before gets a bit into sense, and I think in Budapest we'll have an interesting race as well. It's nice to see that the athletes who have made the effort at this point of the season are clearly aiming for that goal, because at the end of the day, how many races can a top marathon runner do in a year? We're probably talking about 2, 3, and there's a lot going in, and there's a lot at stake on days like this for runners who are right on the verge of representing their country, sometimes even meaning a national record, or being very close to a national record, which is maybe even their own, but they have to repeat it again to get access into these competitions. And we're talking about here in February. If it doesn't work out in February, you might get one shot more before that, but it's already a big price you've paid in investment of energy for a day like this, right?
Totally right, Daniel. Like all the athletes, I think, here in the field, I bet they stick pretty close to their watches. If they see performance not going well throughout the race, it might be safer to get out of the race like before, because especially after kilometer 15, kilometer 20, the price you pay per kilometer biomechanically on your legs is always higher. In order to recover for your next race, and as you've said, an elite athlete will be racing maximum four marathons, I would say, per year at the top level, top notch there. So the bets you have reduce as the year goes on, right? So it's not only what you prepare for the race, your training, which is really important as well there, but also the extra motivation you get when you stick a bib on your shirt and you race there, the ambient, the meteorology, the group you're running in, all those conditions that are specific on competition. You cannot get that on a different race, maybe, the group you're running in. So that makes every single race special, independent, and yeah, it reduces the shots you get there to get the standards right.
Well, I'll get a correction there. If Kirwa Novestus Kipkos-Gay, who was one of the initial pacers, continues to be in the race, who's just dropped back from the first group, but we see there's a bit of a recovery there in kilometer 20. Before, I believe we were talking about 9 or 10 seconds under or behind the course record. So they've recovered in these last 5 kilometers, and they've gone back from those 9 seconds to 1 second difference. So we can consider that they're back on track.
They're absolutely back on track. I mean, the race record for men will be running kilometer 20 on 59:13 seconds. They're running on 59:16 seconds. I mean, that's 3 seconds there. This is brilliant, Daniel. I mean, I think the pacers are doing a great job. This is right on the spot.
As we see a review again, the start of the race with 5-10 kilometers was 6 and 10 seconds ahead. Then we had this big difference of 19 seconds between kilometer 10 and kilometer 15, but they've been able to recover it in the last 5 and leave it, as we were saying, in just 1 second. So good news that we are back on track, and with the possibility of having that event record, although we see differently to the women's pack, which is more set together. We could see that the men's group is starting to stretch out. We'll see how many of them are able to escape or not be dropped behind, but things with the group of women continue exactly the same, and there are no breaks here, well covered by 3 men in front. And I think we will still have to wait to see some changes in the women's leading group, especially considering that they've been following the plan, so there's no need for anyone to actually differentiate themselves from the women behind. We see the images again focusing on Mary Chechule, who's making good progress.
We should expect a time of 1 hour 5 minutes 15 seconds, so just that 1 hour 2 minutes, just under 1 hour 6 minutes for the women to run on that 20-kilometer mark in order to check if we're running on the race record for today. Sometimes we've seen in races, Daniel, that the pacers actually go way forward, and actually they end up winning the race. I don't know if that will happen today, but you know, that sometimes might happen there on the field. I don't know if that's maybe a mistake or a change in the communication strategy we were speaking before, right, on the race, but that's something, if not at least interesting to see during a race, right?
Yeah, I remember many years ago many years ago, I couldn't remember the year, just on a quick search, it was 2017 in Barcelona. Jonah Kipkemoy, I remember that he was actually a pacer for the Barcelona Marathon, and he got to win the race. We see at the moment Shumuya in front, but all men pretty close together. There's just a 1 second difference mostly.
I think these Kenyan athletes are gonna substitute the Swiss watches. I think they're running just on the spot, and really top notch there.
Yeah, so you were saying, like, this anecdote of sometimes it can happen that a pacer wins the race. I think it's something really complicated. I mean, it's a hugely respectable job the pacers do. They have been in need to carry the race right from the start, but it can happen sometimes, as you were saying. No, it may be a runner that's aiming for a hugely good time, as we're just going past the half marathon now. This 1 hour 2:32, so just 1 second away of what the half marathon was last year when the course record was broken. So as we were saying, no, the responsibility of a pacer who has to carry a race, but I think there's no real aspiration for them to win the race. But if you've done your job and you've been on the clock, if the candidates to win have had to drop out, I see no problem there. I mean, if you reach kilometer 30, you had a contract to, and you've accomplished your job there, and you're already there. If suddenly there's nobody following you, and you've got the legs to keep going, well, congratulations, just keep going. But it's certainly something pretty rare because of the paces that they're actually running at. They're pretty unsustainable for most humans. So if you've actually been in mind to just run 30, it's hard to put it 12 kilometers more.
Absolutely. There we see on the screen a solid back there. We see the Spanish athlete Jorge Blanco, pretty strong and solid there, running on the group. Jorge Blanco, remember, he's the national Spanish champion for marathon with 2 hours 11 minutes 34 seconds in Zaragoza last year, and he's looking for a personal best here in Sevilla today.
In front of that group was Abderrazak Charik of France, who continues to carry that group as he's been doing for a while now.
We see there coming from the back Kenyan athlete Kipsanai Chebi, 2 hour 6 hour marathon athlete, coming there from the back quite strongly as well. I think he's a strong contender today here, and I think he was going to have a lot to say now towards the second half of the race. Let's see what happens.
In the chasing group, we see the Bolivian and Peruvian athletes we were commenting before, so it looks like they're actually on track as well to accomplish their objectives. I don't think there's been any kind of diminishing in the pace of the front group, so I can't expect a repacking as we've seen in the recent time marks. The front group for the men getting back on track, but much better is on the women's side with 15 seconds of advantage of the leader time, 1 hour 5 minutes and 33 seconds for the 20 kilometers compared to the 1 hour 5 minutes and 48 seconds of the last time this was achieved.
On that group we see Cheka Cheko from Ethiopia, 2 hour 24 minutes marathoner as well, running there on the group, quite solid. Yeah, the race is pretty going through as expected from the beginning. Pretty solid runners, pacing I think really well for today's session, and this is looking quite promising towards the second half of the race. You were commenting before as well, like other events were happening as well on both of the national and international field this weekend. We've been watching loads of athletics events this weekend. We've seen indoor national championships in Spain. We have the Barcelona half marathon happening today as well at this very same time. Yesterday we had the World Cross Country Championships happening in Bathurst, Australia there. Loads of athletics happening this weekend at the same time.
Yeah, this time of the year is one of the nice peaks when it all gets to complete, like the indoor season or the cross country in the years where we have world championships. By the way, if some of our viewers missed the ending of the seniors women's race, it's worth to see, even if you just, because we're with huge distances here now with 42 kilometers, but even at shorter distances, which is not so short, we're going around 10 kilometers in the cross country. We can see how dramatic and what a toll it takes on the body. So after this Zurich Maratón de Sevilla 2023 finishes, if you get a chance to recover the images of the sprint finish, we won't, there's been a fall there, we'll try to identify who the affected runners, but up to 4 runners took it there.
Yeah, we see there falling Alexandru Cornești from Romania, 2 hour 13 marathoner affected there. Christian Bascones from my curator as well has been affected in the fall. Hopefully they can catch up with the group and come back. That's something dramatic that happening on the race for the athletes. I mean, recovering from that and getting as well your concentration back and getting solid again. That's an extra energy cost. Hopefully there's no physical damage for the athletes.
Yeah, that will be the most important thing at this point, but it is something that can affect focus, certainly. So we'll see what the development for those runners finally can be. I don't want to go past the other events that we were talking about, because it's certainly been a very interesting week. I'd like to highlight the indoor meeting in the event in France. In the 3,000 meters, a world record came down. La Mecha Girma in the 3,000 meters, a record that was it was held by Daniel Komen, I believe. But we had 2 world record breakers in that same race. I mean, how many times does it happen that you break the world record, but the person right in front of you has just broken it? No, it's a record that has been standing for years, and it's been broken. And we just go through a quick review of the national record aspirations. Israel, France, Peru and Argentina all seem on their way. The French one just a bit lighter, but the other ones seem a bit better. The ones that are being left behind are Israel with Guillermo Amamare and Samuel Segai, who's also fallen back 18 seconds behind the aspiration. But Carlos Martín Díaz and Cristian Zamora for Chile and Uruguay are way over the expectations, with more than a minute of margin with the national records they're aspiring to break. So good news for them.
Also, I would like to add on that before we continue on the other competitions we've seen throughout this weekend. The Turkish national record around 2 hours 24 as well is looking to be beaten today, way over that. If we have our Turkish contenders there, we're gonna see now where they're running there.
We have now the chrono for the half marathon. We just saw a few seconds ago the 20-kilometer mark, so we'll have this quick review. And still things following pretty good looking for women, with 14 seconds of gap, respect the 9:11 and 9:25 over the hour that the women are aspiring to break. And yeah, just to close on that issue, brilliant performances by Girma and Mohamed Katir, one of the uprising Spanish athletes of the recent years. He's certainly been able to amuse in the recent times. A world medalist and European medalist as well. He won't be competing though in the European indoors in Istanbul, which is a shame, but a lot of the attention of the European athletes has been focused on to the World Championships in Budapest, having 3 years in a row where we've had World Championships in Oregon, World Championships in Budapest, and then we'll have obviously the Olympics in Paris. The pandemic broke all the usual rhythm of European Championship, World Championship and Olympics, so that has made some of the top athletes of Europe focus their efforts there.
Yeah, I mean, from a press or from a mediatic point of view, I mean, we want athletes to be top-notch at every single competition, but as we were commenting before, from a performance point of view, from a health point of view as well, sometimes being able to race every single race at top performance, it can be challenging to some of the athletes, despite they recover pretty fast from each competition in comparison to the rest of the mortals here on Earth. But of course, sometimes they unluckily have to choose between 2 races, and even that might even get more pressure on them. I mean, if you have to do all in at the World Champs, rather than maybe split your bet between a European and a World, that might might even get make more pressure on you on that competition, as you have just one shot to outstand. So of course, from a public point of view, we would like to see the athletes in as many competitions as possible, but we should understand, I mean, and emphasize with them. Physically, maybe it's not possible to be there competing at top performance on every single competition, right?
Right. Who does seem to compete very often and continuously break his own records was, and I know I'm going away from running now, but it is athletics and it is our sport, and we would like to highlight that Ryan Krauser from the United States broke the shot put world record yesterday with 23 meters and 38 centimeters. He's got the record for the most times going over 23 meters. So certainly, I mean, the shot put is the whole top five bunch there are being fantastic, but we have to highlight that in a single week we've had 2 world records in the 3000 and in the shot put. We continue to see images of the streets of Sevilla.
Totally right, and we were commenting before as well on the other competitions happening in the field as well, on cross country. The tactics you would use on a cross country race are way different as like a marathon. We can see here on the marathon really well paced athletes on the mark for every kilometer, for every 5 kilometers, controlling the race there to be successful right at the end. On the other side, I would like to say that, like cross country, and for our audience here, if they have the opportunity to as well try to run a cross country, it's completely different, right? You won't focus so much on the pace, on the watch. You would focus more on the feelings you have on the field and on your opponents you see, and you won't follow a very strict specific pace. Rather than you will go more on the feelings you have on the different part of the course, the hills, the grass, or the mud you might have on the course, and it's a completely different tactic there you would use in a cross country, and definitely a very fun event to try, and why not compete and take it on from there. So I encourage our listeners here, if they have the opportunity yet, the following month to try a cross country.
Yeah, totally. I believe many of us actually probably started running, and our first competitions were cross country. I'm not sure if it was your case, but it was mine. And it is something that gets you into athletics, although it's not maybe the most well-known modality of it, because we're used to seeing the track or the road event. Cross country certainly has something very special, and it brings together many different factors. Like, you can have really good runners that in certain conditions or harsh conditions, crosses might not develop as well, and you'd have some pleasant surprises. It's certainly something nice, and as you say, a good shot at trying it, because most of cross country races have an open modality as well.
Yeah, we just see now here the kilometer 25 mark. The leader time is 1 hour 14:10 seconds. That's just around 9 seconds above the race record pace. That will be just 14 minutes 1 second. So we see now the race might have gone slightly slower, which could be a good sign in order to save some energy towards the end. So I must say the pacers and the athletes on the lead pack are doing a great job here, and this is looking really promising towards the end. I think the athletes are performing on the spot, and this is looking really good. I mean, we see now on the streets here maybe not so much animations from the public, so that might make things slightly harder for athletes.
Yeah, so as we've seen, those developments of kilometer 15 to 20 was a good change, and in kilometer 20 and the half marathon, as they went through the Estación de Santa Justa, it maintained at that 1 second, but we have this just bit of a step back, maybe to take 2 in front. We hope that can be the case, and there's not actually a fall in the final outcome.
And I was commenting that that was the race record pace. I mean, we see on screen the course record. So the race record, we see a difference of around 10 seconds, but the course record, we see just a very small difference of 1 second. So, yep, records coming on the runway.
I do want to remind the audience, as we said right at the beginning, that it will be the event record. We're calling it the course record on the graphics, but there is a slight change compared to last year between kilometers 26.5 and 29, so they'll be heading into that one. Apparently there are a bit of less curves involved in that stretch. The bit of the course has been changed due to some works on the road, nothing huge, but there is this big difference. If someone ran it last year and is watching now from the distance and thinks, oh, we didn't run that bit, that's the reason behind it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this course changes can alter the results. Also, maybe athletes repeating the race with slightly different course might find there some differences that might go well or might go worse. There, we'll see that later on. Another technical peculiarity we have on the race later on kilometer 35 when we go through Plaza de España. Also the road there as well make the conditions slightly harder, despite it's a very small distance there, and it's if not the most beautiful part of Sevilla. So just we will have to wait until kilometer 35 to see that beautiful Plaza de España. That might affect the athlete's legs on kilometer 35. We see on the screen Meritxell Soler just running there around 14 seconds faster for the national record, so that's looking really promising. And we see Malindi Elmore from Canada just slightly above their Canadian record, so probably they could help each other throughout the race there, and see how it goes. And you were commenting before, Meritxell running in a very solid pack there with her husband there on a race. We see how athletes are supplementing throughout the race. They're getting their liquids. Really important for the race, right? When we see athletes maybe taking their last supplements on race, maybe kilometer 35, sometimes you might think that's for race performance as well, and some of the supplements they take, especially on the last kilometers, they actually can be used for recovery for after the race, which is also pretty important to be able to resume training sessions as soon as possible as well for the following calendar events you have. So just stress out the importance of a good rest, good nutrition, and good strength and conditioning there just around the running training for such events.
Right, so we go back into the head race for the women with Getahun in front and Mulisa right behind. Those are the two candidates to the win at the moment, although there are a couple more women just a few meters behind. We see there's the picking up of their own supplementation, and as we saw, some with huge issues there to get it. Obviously it's something complicated. I think in that case what we saw was a reading a bit too late. And we've got Nejeng Melinda Catala
from Ciudad,
with a time of 2 hours 28 and 6 seconds.
Yeah, she's running pretty strong there, pretty solid on the Meritxell's pack. I think the technique these athletes have is pretty solid. I mean, throughout the kilometers, they look pretty solid. Looking great worth, yeah.
We get the Polish runner there, sticking right behind, 2 hours 27:47. We have to go back to 2015 for that PB. So we'll see what the development could be today. It'll be probably a minute above that, according to the current pacing of this group.
Poland has in the recent years, coming back from the recent European Championships, very strong female marathoners on the field. We see this now here on Seville, and over the last years, especially in the sprinting distances on the track and the middle distance running, Poland being one of the strongest countries, both in World Championships and Olympic Games. And now moving on forward to the marathon, we're seeing a very strong country in athletics in the recent years.
Yeah, although we have to highlight today that although there was the presence of Aleksandra Lisowska, the European champion, expected for today's marathon, she was not present in the start line today. So that was one of the big absences of today's race. We also had Waldo Megler from France. She was expected to run as well, and she suffered an injury. Obviously these things happen with the huge amount of time these events are planned with. Sometimes there can be some last minute absences.
Yeah, unluckily injuries come. Normally injuries in athletics, many other sports as well, just come when you're on your peak performance. So especially that week or 2 weeks before a competition, you must be especially careful with your sessions, on your recovery, basically everything, because the fitter you come, the stronger you become for your performance, maybe the higher the probabilities are for becoming injured are as well, because you're stressing your body to the limits. And both coaches and athletes should be, really careful there, to take very well care on what competitions you choose. Give your athletes enough time to recover, and just not overdo it. Maybe those that week or those previous days before the competition, right? But of course, when you want to beat national records, Olympic records, any kind of records, you have to you have to bet everything in, and put all the energy in, right, to outperform.
Yeah, we see the broadcast focusing on Meritxell Soler very much because of that aspiration of a Spanish record. We see another Spanish candidate here, Chakib Lajgar. He has a time of 2 hours 16:09 seconds in Valencia just a few months ago.
Yeah, Chakib running for the last years in the Spanish Bikila team. It's a very, very traditional team in Spain in athletics, especially in the cross-country field. They've been European cross-country champions for the last at least 8 years. Not this year, but all the previous year and before.
No, not this year. I got the chance myself to be in Oropesa del Mar recently, where Playas de Castellón, which is probably one of the biggest teams, if not the biggest, in Spain in terms of athletics throughout all the different events, and they proclaimed themselves European champions there. But yeah, it is true. Bikila are one of the I'd say traditional of the recent decade, and they always present very good teams in terms of cross country, but they are very usual as well on road races, because probably of the nature of it, that good runners in cross country can adapt well to the distances, run in 10Ks and half marathons, and they're the ones that we get to see in the cities of Spain.
Totally, we've seen a change in the competition field, right? We see Bikila getting more into road races as well, apart from cross country, and we've seen Playas de Castellón team, which has been more oriented on the track and the road, coming as well to cross country. we just see get out of the race Philippe Kibrono, pacer, right?
It was exactly the kilometer 30 post. His job there was to get in 28:30, and I believe those were around like 30 seconds later than what the expected plan. But what we were saying before, no, you get a contract to run to kilometer 30, you're going to go there, and I'm sure the energies were on the minimum. And now we also see, well, a man who we saw a bit of him at the beginning, Nicolás Navarro, still sticking to plan there, possibly aiming for the French record.
Hopefully we'll see that. That 1 hour 30 minute could mark a finish time of 2 hours 6 minutes 30 seconds around. So that the actual pace. I meant to inform our audience that might recently joined us. The athletes started the race running just under 3 minutes per kilometer. They passed the kilometer 5 mark just under 15 minutes. The 10K just under 30 minutes. And so far so on. Actually, they just slightly slowed down. They actually running at the moment slightly slower, and they just passed the 30 kilometer mark, as Daniel was marking here. 1 hour 30 minutes for 30 kilometers.
Yeah, we have the leading time. It's 18 seconds behind. And look, we were talking about Chaki Blachgar there, but we've also got Ibrahim Chakir, man from Catalan region of Spain. Looks strong there, having a sip as he stretches ahead from his fellow teammate Ibrahim Chakir. 2 hours 13 minutes and, well, 2 hours 13 minutes flat in Zaragoza 2022, as you corrected me before, rightly so. I thought it was his debut. I tried to search for his times there, couldn't find a personal best, but going back into the numbers, we've got 2 hours and 13. So could he be breaking his personal best today?
Probably we'll see Ibrahim Chakir breaking his personal best today. He's an athlete born in 1994 from Villafranca Penedès in the Catalonian region. It's a beautiful area to visit if you have the chance there.
Good wine, by the way, there.
Great wine, great food. You will have a good mix of both seaside and mountains in that region. The Costa Brava, which is absolutely beautiful there. Just remind you, Ibrahim Chakir recently came second on the National Marathon Championships, just behind Jorge Blanco running as well. So yeah, pretty solid contender there from Bikila team here today in Sevilla.
In front we saw Eno Conchari in second position, going on the chase of the leader there. Things have stretched at the front. Will probably soon be defining who are the men involved in the fight for the podium places today. This group just closed here by Nicolás Navarro in the chasing group.
Yeah, hopefully Nicolás Navarro can continue this solid performance he's having today on the race to beat his national record. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he looked pretty ambitious right from the start, and he's kept on going with the front group. Obviously, there's been a break now right in the front in aspirations to get that win, but I believe he can accomplish his objective there. So in the lead we've got Gadisa Virjano Shumia, bib number 18. We see the split image now between the leading men and leading women. In front now, Sintayehu Tilahun Getahun, and just right behind there, Aberu Ayana Mulisa. Things with women still clear there with two strong candidates. Jacqueline Chelal, the women in third position. Let me just go back to the potential Spanish record there. As we go back to the front now with Gadisa Virjano Jumia and Taurus Philip Kiprono.
Just to remind our audience here on the female leaders, 25th kilometer mark, Sintayehu Tilahun first, 1 hour 22 minutes, Aberu Ayana Mulisa second, 1 hour 22, Jacqueline Chelal third, Tsega Chekol, that will be fourth, and Urge Diro Soboka on the 5th place.
I believe once we have the results or the live results updated, the man in second position is Enoch Onchari from Kenya, the leader Gadisa Virjano Shumia from Ethiopia, and this is the chasing group, as we were saying, closed by Nicolas Navarro, the first European. And here's Ibrahim Shakir, the first Spaniard at the moment, and clearly making progress. I mean, he's put the 6th gear on his gearbox now, and we could see how quickly he was able to go past Necho Tayacheo from Israel there. But as we call it in Spanish, he's picking up corpses, right?
Absolutely. There now is where we can start seeing true performance coming here. The cells inside those bodies performing, getting those carbohydrates and that fats burnt for getting the turbo on and getting the maximum energy for that towards that end of the race. And encourage our audience here to keep their eyes stuck on TVs, because we're gonna continue watching really beautiful parts of the Sevilla city throughout the course, apart from a really beautiful marathon today.
Yeah, we've just gone past also, as we earlier on we were saying that we went past La Cartuja, one of the stadiums of the city. Obviously, if there's something that Sevilla breathes as well is football, with two huge teams in the Spanish top flight. We've gone past the Ramón Sánchez Pizjuán, the stadium of Sevilla Football Club, one of the club with most UEFA Europa League titles, and they are the big rival. Plays at the Estadio Benito Villamarín. It's Real Betis, and the fans really live it. I mean, we're talking about the Betis fans. Spain is well known for Barca and Madrid being the main football teams, but Betis fans are the third unit of social mass in Spain.
Sorry, Daniel, we see the leading men just entering the Parque María Luisa. That's where we're gonna watch now Plaza de España, where athletes will just go around this beautiful square. This is where the road now technically becomes slightly more difficult, as you would see now, but definitely, if not one of the most beautiful spots in the city.
Yeah, the Plaza de España is part of the Park of María Luisa, as you were saying, designed by the Sevillan architect Aníbal González as the main space of the Ibero-American exhibition of 1929, and it's a unique square at world level with a huge 50,000 square meter size. It's considered the most important square of Spain, and around it in its structure is a canal of 515 meters that can be sailed with small boats, as these boats go under the 4 bridges that surround that go through the course of these 500 meters. And there are 2 towers which can be seen from all around Sevilla. If it rings a bell to some of our audience who don't directly relate it with Sevilla, might be because it was a scenario for the filming of films of such importance as Lawrence of Arabia or Star Wars Episode 2, The Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, the Plaza España as we see now in our screens is a mix of Baroque, Renaissance and Moorish revival, which make this a beautiful spot to visit.
Fantastic aerial images we're seeing right now from the Plaza España as the runners go through it. Well, the first runners, remember today, more than 12,000 runners in Sevilla, started at 8:30 in the morning. It's just 10 past 10 now, so we're approaching the closing stretch of the race for the front runners, of course. We see him, Mequanta y Neugebres, chasing the pack in front as they're getting out of the structure of the Plaza España.
I'd say just passing through that Plaza España spot there for athletes would suppose a very positive stimulus to their mind, because that will mark around the 7 or 8 kilometer to finish line. So that would mean a very positive impact towards the end of the race. We see Nicolás from Bolivia now entering the Plaza de España in his pack, running pretty solid there. He has a very good group there to keep moving forward. Hopefully break his national record today here in Sevilla. We see this third group from the race entering Plaza España 1 hour 42 minutes. That is 1 minute under race record today. So athletes are still running at the expected spot for breaking race record today. That will be 2 hours 4 minutes 45 seconds. If runners continue like this, we should expect finishing between 2 hours 5 minutes for that third group, and that will be slightly faster for the leading group we've seen on the race there. We see Bikila team members coming inside Plaza España.
Ibrahim Shakir going through the Plaza España as the first Spaniard. As you were saying, the mental stimulus is absolutely fantastic scenario. And Ibrahim Shakir continues to make progress and seems strong while on the lead, as we were seeing in the previous images. Kadisa Shumie, Eno Conchari and Kebede Tuluwami are the 3 men in contention for the first spot of today's race. We get one more chance of seeing the images, and here's the support of the fans from Sevilla who have gathered in the outbound of the Plaza España, cheering the first national athlete. And there is the front group, as we were saying, Kadisa Shumie, Eno Conchari and Kebede Tuluwami. Those are the 3 candidates right now to take the first position here.
Ibrahim Shakir, he's running around 8 minutes 8 minutes faster his PB, so I think he's gonna smash his personal best here today on the race. Athletes are running pretty fast today, and we're gonna see many records broken today. Just keep your eyes tucked to the TV, because we're gonna see many national records beaten today, I think.
We get that update of the 35th kilometers, far from the event record, but let's focus on what matters today and who's gonna be the winner. Kebede Tuluwami, Gadisa Virjanu and Enoch Onchari. Those are the three men standing ahead at the moment. There's the chasing group again. I don't think we can consider it like a chasing group with the risk. I did see the three front runners in a good manner. If one is gonna fall, I don't think that we get the full numbers here. There's the difference between the fourth and the fifth is of 6 seconds, and that's, at this point, it's a gap that probably shows that there's not the ability to cut with that. So we've got 4 men for 3 steps on the podium.
These are just the exact pace for the race record, so that's 2 hours 4 minutes 43 seconds for the leading athletes. We should expect 1 hour 58 minutes for that 40 kilometer mark, sorry, and that's just under 3 minutes per kilometer pace, around 2 minutes 58 seconds. These athletes are still running, so pretty solid, I think, since the beginning, and going towards that race record today. That hopefully we can see.
The man chasing behind the first 3 is Mekwanda Yenaugebre. The other 2 who are stuck to the leader, Gadisa Virjanu Shumie, Kebede Tuluwami and Enoch Onchari. Those 2, Kebede Wami and Enoch Onchari, are right on the same timing as the leader at the moment. So there's a bit of chaser there with Mekwanda Gebre. We'll see as we get images back to the front men if there's that ability to make it a group of 4, or it will stay being 3.
Yeah, we're approaching that part of the race that we will change from running on a paced manner. We will get just that strength and that feelings out, and just get the turbo on and just enjoy the rest of the race, right?
The women now have dropped out a little bit of the expected course record, I believe. In kilometer 30 was 1 hour 38:30 seconds.
Yeah, that's just slightly 20 seconds over the race record, so that would be 1 hour 38 minutes 54 seconds for the race record. So just running there under that that time for the race record. That will be end time of 2 hours 18 minutes 51 seconds. So hopefully we will see a women's race record as well here.
Who's looking strong at the moment is Jacqueline Chelal from Kenya. The leader at the moment of the women's race has managed to escape the rest of competitors, and she's, I believe, quite distant from any other woman. As we look at the images behind, I don't think there's any close candidate to chasing her, so showing strength there towards the win.
Yeah, she's run a very intelligent race, because we haven't seen her in the first, let's say, 15 kilometers of the race. She's been behind the racing on the group, and now she's coming up towards the end of the race, strong, and now getting all the energy out, right? So she's doing a very intelligent race there.
We saw we're seeing still in the images Yaila Gunen, her debut in the marathon distance. The woman from Turkey has 1 hour 10:27 in the half marathon. We see her right next to the national athlete Merichel Solé.
I think that's looking really positive. The Turkish record being 2 hours 24 minutes, so she's running pretty fast today for a Turkish audience here. So keep looking for this athlete here. looking really strong.
Gadisa Shumia, still the man in front out of those three, although they're stuck together. He's been able to carry the initiative, and he's not having doubts at the moment. We'll see how comfortable the other two may be, Enokonchari and Kevede Tuluwami.
We're seeing Nicolas here stretching the group. They were previously running on a pack. Nicolas is taking the lead. And the four athletes are running now on a line, and we see how some athletes are just falling behind, and true performance coming now through. We see the lead of the race, 1 hour 50 minutes now into the race, and we're seeing how legs are coming faster and faster now.
Split image now between the leading men and leading women, with Jacqueline Chelal leading for the women, Gadisa Shumia for the men. The women's case just leaving the Plaza España area at the moment.
We should expect the leading woman finishing around 2 hours 30 minutes, which would be, I think, a really strong time for today, being the race record, the women's race record, 2 hours 18 minutes. And if we expect the leading woman finishing 2 hours 13, that's a smash record today for the race.
Gadisa Shumia going strong, and it looks like only Kebedewami is able to follow him. Enokonchari falling behind. There he is, Enokonchari, seeing as the two front men are escaping, and maybe he'll have to settle for staying in the podium, because it does look like Shumia and Wami have things clear to go to the front. There's Onchari still trying to work his way back, but I think we can see that he is feeling that he'll not be able to catch up with those two unless they pay a price for their escape, right?
He's definitely fighting strong there to stick with the group for the last kilometers.
At this point we see this image with the athletes running in parallel, far from each other. The image going back to Enokonchari, the chaser right now, the only man that looks who could argue the victory to either Wami or Shumia.
Absolutely, the three athletes looking really pretty strong. Rotagri has taken the lead, and he's not negotiating here any relays, and he wants the lead. On screen now, Kedebe Tuluwami from Ethiopia, personal best of 2 hours 6 minutes 3 seconds. And let's see where Sevilla will take him today.
Looks like Gadisa Shumia has even got 1 gear more. He's escaping now, not only from Onchari, but also from Kebedewami. And we take a quick review from kilometer 35 to the possibilities of national records. One of the candidates of Israel is on his way to breaking it. Nicolas Navarro has fallen behind his aspirations, 42 seconds back of it. Héctor Garibay Flores from Bolivia is on the way to do it, and Cristian Pacheco for Peru is on the right direction as well, just like Cristian Zamora, and Carlos Martín Díaz from Chile. Carlos Martín Díaz 2 minutes on the national record, so that one looking pretty good.
Yeah, athletes have been pretty solid, as we've been commenting today here, and we are expecting many national records on the field today.
Images going back to the first Spaniard, Ibrahim Shakir. Came into this with 2 hours and 13, but as you were saying before, he'll probably smash completely his personal best, and I do see him confident, obviously with the suffering expression there, but he has shown in the recent few kilometers his ability to make a change and go forward, so he's probably feeling right to get the PB. And as we see who seems to be writing his name down on the books as hard as he can, Gadi Sashumia, deciding that there's no time for nonsense, and with just over 5 minutes left until we reach the 2-hour mark, he's clearly left his rivals behind.
I think he just smashed the hammer down, and as you said, he's just moved into 6th gear now towards the end of this Sevilla Marathon. He wants it, and he's probably gonna get it.
Man from Ethiopia, born in 1992. Personal best in the 10K 27:45. He's got a half marathon in 1 hour 2 minutes and 19 seconds, and his marathon PB done in 2018. If I got we've got an update on that one. It's Montreal 2022, 2 hours 9:23. So we'll see if he can break his personal best in today's race. On the women's side, Jacqueline Chelal from Kenya with a PB of 2:29:22 done in Madrid 2 years ago. She's the leading woman at the moment.
That's an spectacular marathon time that's an spectacular marathon time running in Madrid, which are very hard conditions. The marathon there, it's most of the time uphill, and the 700-meter altitude of that city make marathon conditions not the best. So we should expect here a smash record as well here from the athlete today.
More images of Gadi Sashumia as he confidently continues to lead the race. We go through smaller streets now as the course gets towards the end. The race allows for these smaller margins in the beautiful streets of Sevilla that we've been enjoying for almost 2 hours now. Lisa Shumia taking the bends confidently there.
I was just checking here Stanley Biwott as one of the favorites we've seen at the beginning from Kenya. He's just running under 3 minutes per kilometer, and he's on the 18th position. I mean, that kind of indicates as well the level of today's marathon. I think it's outrageous from the other contenders on the field today, and we're gonna see many national records beaten here today. We see Ibrahim Shakir on the screen now as well with a very solid pace. I think legs are moving there with a good flow. He's finishing strong. He knows, and he's gonna smash his personal best today here in the marathon. Despite he's now running by himself, which might make things slightly harder there. But just the motivation and seeing yourself there should make things different. We just see the pass of the kilometer 40 for the second athlete. 1 hour 58 minutes. That's fast for today's race.
Now we get beautiful images, aerial images from one of the main monuments here in Sevilla. You could see La Giralda, the tower of the Sevilla Cathedral. There goes Gadisa Shumia, continues confidently.
The leading time for kilometer 40 is just on the spot for a race record there. Remind the audience the race record is 2 hours 4 minutes 43 seconds. The gap between the first and second is just between the lead time is 16 seconds. And on the screen we see Gital with the race lead there, going for the race record.
16 seconds of margin without the bend record, and we will see if Gadisa Shumia is able to take it, as we have the images of the Cathedral of Santa Maria. There's the difference. Perfect transition here from kilometer 35 to kilometer 40. We've gone from over 22 to back to minus 16, which is a huge difference in just 5 kilometers.
I'd say this is a difference when you are just holding the pace there, you're controlling the race, and as we were saying, towards the last kilometers, you stop watching your watch, and you just let your legs go, and this is what happens.
We see there again in the background the images of La Giralda. La Giralda is the tower of the Sevilla Cathedral of Santa Maria. It's the biggest Gothic church in the world, and the third Catholic temple just behind St. Peter in Rome and St. Paul in London. Back in the day, it used to be the tallest tower of the world with 97.5 meters. And curiously, there are no stairs inside the tower. There are 35 ramps, which mean that you could run it, but they were made to allow the Sultan to go up the tower by horse.
I would definitely get your calves really, really strong there.
Yeah, instead of walking up the stairs, he rode on the back of the horse. It would be a bit like having done the marathon today in one of the motorbikes of our colleagues covering it for the media today. It was declared World Heritage Site in 1987 by the UNESCO.
We've also seen there the Torre del Oro, Golden Tower, and the name given to Torre del Oro is not because it's built of gold or gold stored there, but this is the golden shine projected into the Guadalquivir river here today in Sevilla.
Well, all of this fantastic route has almost been completed by Gadisa Shumia, who's on his way to the win today. I don't think anyone can take it from him anymore. Feels pretty confident. You can see his expression there.
He's going for the race record.
He is winner of the Montreal Marathon. He had his PB. If he were to do the race record today, that would mean a PB as well for him. Very close to the end now. Gadisa Shumia.
That's it. This is the shot from the finish line. We see the 3 leading athletes coming to the finish line. Pretty solid, pretty strong. And we'll see if we get today a race record, Daniel.
Yeah, the athletes chasing behind. Kebedewami, I don't think we'll make it in time. Gadisa Shumia making his way to the end.
He is really now hammering down towards that finish line. We'll get those carbon plates smashed into the ground.
Will be focusing whatever time he's able to get as he's running close to the end here.
He's now 1 minute faster than that race record. So let's see what happens.
Gone past the mark of 2 hours 4.
That would be 2 hours 4 minutes 43 seconds for the race record.
2 hours 4 minutes 43 seconds is a time to break to take the event record from Azrar Abderrahman. Last sprint now for Gedisa Shumie. Born in 1992, the Ethiopian sprinting for it. Can he make it on time? Last meters now. We won't have a course record, but it'll be very close to it. Just seconds afterwards. Last meters now for Gedisa Shumie. He'll be breaking the clock in just under 2 hours and 5 minutes. Victory in Sevilla 2023 for Gedisa Shumie, the Ethiopian. The event record will stand for Azrar Abderrahman. But just a few seconds later is Kebede Wami in second position. And the last spot in the podium will be taken by Mekwantai and Eugebre. Those are the three that will complete the podium today. And now we have the whole pack of runners arriving one after the other. Brilliant times, still under 2 hours and 6 minutes. We've got the Nokonchari, who was in the leading group for a long time. Plenty of PBs are falling now. Next one there is Mulugeta Asefa from Ethiopia, also coming in.
Main record of the race, it was so close, but anyways, first and second.
Those are the first men to come in. Obviously, we'll be waiting for the first woman, but we've got Nicolas Navarro here, the Frenchman, coming in at the moment, celebrating his position today, because he was able to improve 2 hours 6 minutes and 44. He's beaten his personal best of 2 hours 7 minutes and 1 second. And we focus the images back to the first Spaniard, Ibrahim Chakir.
Ibrahim Chakir looking pretty solid on the finish line, but I think he's just slightly above his PB. Let's see how he finishes.
The face of exhaustion for Ibrahim Chakir.
Absolutely, the fatigue now accumulated on his body is pretty clear here.
He'll be way on the
mark, right? Yeah.
Personal best. He has 2 hours and 13 from Zaragoza 2022, and he'll break that by a huge margin. The man from Vilafranca del Penedès coming into the last meters now.
Excellent conditions here in Sevilla today for so many records.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. We said it just at the start of it that it's been a very nice, pleasant weekend despite it being February, and I believe the conditions have kept it cloudy throughout the 2 hours and so that we've had since the initial shotgun, and I'm sure that has helped a lot in the amount of personal best we are seeing and we will see. Cameras still focused on Ibrahim Chakir, coming into the last straight now.
La victoria para Gedisa Shumie, 2 horas 04:59.
Ibrahim Chakir, 28 years of age, breaking his previous mark of 2 hours and 13. He's smashing that with this sprint finish, which will be around 2 hours, 9 minutes and 18 seconds. That's set time for Ibrahim Shakir, a huge improvement. More arrivals there, still under 2 hours and 10 minutes. As Ibrahim Shakir celebrating on the ground. It's a huge performance there. I'm not sure if he'll even be able to rise up now, stand up for the photo. He's absolutely destroyed. He made good progress in today's race, keeping in a pack with the rest of national runners. Another trash man there is Tashlowini Gabriesos. Refugee from Israel now. More athletes coming in. We see the absolute exhaustion. Difficult to even keep the line. We'll now have a look at the 21st that we see the compatriot of Ibrahim Shakir coming in. Dani Mateo also. These three complete the Spanish podium. So this is the final result of the 10th Gadisa Shumie with 2 hours, 4 minutes and 59, so just under those 2 hours and 5 minutes. Podium goes fully for Ethiopia with Kebede Turuwami and Mekwanta Yeneugebre. All three just above the 2 hours and 5.
This has been a constant the recent years in Sevilla. Last year we also had the first and second male athletes from Ethiopia, third from Eritrea. This year we also had the third from Ethiopia, and three Ethiopian athletes coming first on the women's.
Waiting for more news there. We'll try to inform you from the results. It can obviously be checked live on the website of the marathon. Try and bring as much information as possible live here.
Pretty tight finish there. We see the athletes from the 2nd to the 6th all in 2 hours 5 minutes time there, which means athletes have finished in a solid pack. Then the 7th and the 8th 2 hours 6 minutes, and the 9th and the 10th together as well 2 hours 7 minutes.
Still got Merichel Solé on play now. The women's lead after 40 kilometers won't presumably break that course record, the woman leading, but I'm sure she will go and improve her personal best of 2:29.22. The camera's now focusing on this woman, the leading woman, Jacqueline Chelal from Kenya.
She just passed the 40 kilometer mark, 2 hours 12 minutes. She's running 3 minutes 18 minutes per kilometer there, and she's looking pretty strong. Luckily, I think she's running there with just behind another athlete on the course, which might make things better for her towards the end, as we see fatigue now accumulating on those bodies.
Yeah, clearly the posture is changing in these last kilometers as we see Chelal going past the Catedral de Santa Maria.
But nevertheless, we should never underestimate them, because sometimes we see their these athletes' technique looking a bit like this, and then they smash the hammer again towards the last meter of the race. Although I totally agree.
I mean,
there's a fatigue there.
Obviously, I'd like to see you and myself after the 40 kilometers. But if we get into the awareness that these athletes are running still at 3 minutes 18, 3 minutes 20, it's still a very quick pace for any person, that even those who are into running, and being able to keep that gesture after 40 kilometers.
I have, throughout my experience into athletics and running in different groups, I've seen many friends and top class athletes running with, let's say,
unorthodox
technique, but running at paces I would definitely love to run, and I'm not even close to run there. So I must say my maximum admiration to the elite athletes, and I mean, we should be aware of what they're doing here.
Things continue for Jacqueline Chelal.
¿Qué tal, chicos? Aquí estamos con el ganador.
We have an interview with the winner now.
Así que vamos a hacerle una pregunta facilita y a ver qué nos cuenta. Are you happy with your race here in Seville?
Interview him.
Okay, very happy.
And the clock 2:04:59, a really good time, no, for the marathon?
It's the first time. Yeah.
Bueno, nos cuenta que está muy contento. Ya sabéis que hay veces que es difícil también, no todos nos defendemos en inglés, y bueno, nos cuenta que está muy contento y que está muy feliz de haber ganado aquí en Sevilla. Nos lo decía antes fuera de la cámara. Así que nada, aquí tenemos al ganador, al gran protagonista de esta mañana en el Maratón de Sevilla.
With his happiness and satisfaction after the victory today in just under 2 hours and 5, so 2 hours 4 minutes 59. That's the time taken by Gadi Sashumia today. Continue to see more aerial images of these last kilometers. I believe yet Jacqueline Chelal down there in the lower third of the image, going into the last kilometer.
This is now where you leave your legs go, and just push it hard till the end with all the energy left you have there.
As you said before, there is a man runner there in front, which I'm sure is something that can help. In fact, we actually saw the runner himself giving support to Chelal there. I mean, when she decided that it was enough, because the women's group has held on together for most of the race, and at one point we just saw Chelal on her own, and I don't think anyone was able to chase her. But right at the start of the race, Chelal was, I'd say, 4th, 5th. She was keeping behind. There was a group of a couple of paces and a couple of candidate runners to the win, and she just managed to stay a step behind, get out of complications, and at some point she felt confident enough to take this step ahead, go up a notch, and reach it for what will be a brilliant win.
Very intelligent running from her. From a marathon, the mentality should be kilometer 5, keep control. Kilometer turn, control, relax. Kilometer 15, control, don't go up, don't give up. Kilometer 20, control your legs, and then just until kilometer 35, let's say, you can maybe start letting go. I think Chelal has followed this strategy here today, and that's why now we see her leading the the women's ranking today. She's way in front of the second contestant, and Ayana Mulisa, just 2 minutes before, and that's 3 minutes in front of the third women, Diro Soboka.
Jacqueline Chelal now going into the arches that define the last straight of this Zurich Maratón de Sevilla 2023. And she'll get the win today with a huge personal best as well, coming in from having run 2 hours 29 in Madrid in 2021. This will absolutely destroy that mark. Obviously the conditions are very different in Sevilla than in the Spanish capital. Here we have the final meters for Jacqueline Chelal, going through the finish line in 2 hours 20 minutes and 28 seconds. Huge personal best for the winner today in the women's race here in Sevilla's marathon.
That's a great performance from the athlete. That was the time taken by the second contender last year, very close to the finishing time last year from the first women. That was 2 hours 19 minutes, so that was pretty close there. Congratulations to the Kenyan athlete, the Ethiopian athlete, sorry. Kenyan.
You'll get the confusion here because the previous wins you were saying had always been Ethiopian. The title goes back to Kenya for this one. It was in the men.
Thank you, Daniel.
And look at the final stumbles, and I think her expression shows not only the exhaustion but the excitement that she feels for having improved so much her personal best. Now the interest focuses on the first Spanish woman, Meritxell Soler, looking strong, aiming for that Spanish record. Are we in those times? It's hard to say as we see the second woman arriving now, Pero Ayana Mulisa. Meritxell Soler back into the images. She continues to run comfortably. She's been supported by a couple fellow teammates from Club Athletic Manresa, including Abel Casali, a couple. And the time she's trying to break at the moment are those 2 hours 26:14 that Marta Galimany took this last fall in Valencia. We'll try to confirm at what stage Soler finds herself. She's the half marathon national record holder for Spain with 1 hour 10 minutes and 36, and today is her debut in the marathon.
I think Meritxell is gonna break that national record. According to the pace she's currently running at, around 3 minutes 18 seconds per kilometer. She should finish around 2 hours 19 minutes for
29.
29.
We have the. I mean, it would be huge news for Spanish athletics to get two women at these performances. We're talking about the record that Marta Galimany broke in Valencia was a 27-year-old record held by Ana Isabel Alonso. So it would be absolutely huge to have two women standing in those marks. runners continue to arrive here in the last straight in the Paseo de las Delicias in Sevilla. And all the attention now focused on this woman, Mary Chilchole from Manresa. Now running on her own but looking strong, chasing a possible Spanish record. There goes the woman from Albajas, continues to make progress. Mary Chilchole, there she is, trying to catch on. There's a mark to break there, 2 hours 26:14.
Yeah, she will probably make it. We expect her to finish 2:25:20-ish. She's slightly slower to the calculation, so we should stay focusing on the athlete. She's going to be pretty close to that national record.
The nerves going through her body right now, knowing that you've got it at hand. A national record on the day of your debut in the distance. Just imagine what you can do afterwards, knowing what it is to run 42:195.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's brilliant there. It'll be right on it. I don't think we'll have it right there, but in any case, it's a brilliant time. Marta Galimany's record will stand at 2 hours 26 minutes and 14 seconds, but so close. Her fellow Catalan athlete there, Mary Chilchole, will not be far behind. And this, if she's under the 26:56, she will be. It's the second best time in the history of Spanish marathon for women. 2 hours 26:37 more or less. That was the clock we saw there. Absolutely brilliant time for Mary Chilchole on the day of her debut, and she was only inches away of taking the record from an experienced runner in the distance such as Marta Galimany. Both Catalans will now stand first and second in the Spanish ranking for the women's marathon. Brilliant race. I mean, it is your debut. It is incredible that you can show this strength the first time you competitively run this kind of distance. It still amuses me, coming from shorter distances, that you're able to psychologically work well in something of this kind. And I guess there was a great job there, not only in training but also in the pacing, and we saw her throughout the whole course accompanied by her fellow teammates from Manresa there.
Absolutely. I mean, pacing is so important. From a 400-meter race to up to a marathon, that pacing is so important. You have to keep your mind clear and stick to the plan. If you let yourself go before you should, then you can ruin your mark. Like Chelal or Marichel today here, I think they ran really well, very intelligent, waiting until the end to change the pace and follow the dream. And I think that's one of the biggest part of the success they had today in the race.
Tremendous images of joy you can see at the finish line of a marathon. Wherever you go, you just stand there, and there's something contagious about the excitement it means for some people, not only finishing a marathon, because if you're talking about these kind of times, the times people are coming in, these are very good runners, and running in under 2 hours and a half is a brilliant time for any human being.
I'm seeing a lot of known faces, people I train with or I share track with during my training sessions. Just seeing the faces now here, it's simply amazing, because I can understand and I know the training they've been doing for the last years, and it's being seen reflected here today in the race. I think it's overall a very good race. We've seen records beaten today. We've seen good performances as well, and overall a very good race.
We saw also recently Yayla Gunen from Turkey coming in, and we'll soon go with an interview of the winner of the women's race, Jacqueline Chelal.
Seguro que no está conforme con la marca, porque es muy exigente, pero bueno, Enrique.
La campeona.
Y poco más, impresionante. Ven la cara de alegría, la cara de fatiga, pero de alegría al cruzar la meta de un maratón, además del de Sevilla.
More and more runners coming into this finish line here at the Paseo de las Delicias in Sevilla, as we're waiting to get some reactions of the best performances today.
Justo el último corredor que ha entrado en 2 horas 30 exactas era el 185 de la general.
And now, as we were saying, we'll try to get the interview reaction of Jacqueline Chelal, the first woman.
My race was fine because I was well prepared for the Zurich Maratón Sevilla. I am happy because I have break my course, because I have my personal best.
Ok, nos cuenta, bueno, que está contenta, así que nada, esta es la campeona de este Zurich Maratón de Sevilla 2023.
Thanks to our colleague Nacho Barranco there, getting the reactions of both winners today. We see some known faces there, right, Pablo?
I just see a friend there from Crusaders athletics team. That was my previous team when I used to live in Ireland. We see Spanish athlete Clara Simal, recently mom of 3. Outrageous performance here today in the race as well.
I mean, there are so many stories. We focus on the elite, but there are 12,000 stories today here in Seville, and these were just the best of the best. But we'll have people coming in up until 2:30 in the afternoon as we go through the result with Jacqueline Chelal winning, but this second and third go to Ethiopia with Abero Ayano Mulisa and Nurgadiro Saboka. And we see the rest of the results up to the 21st women, with the results for Ecuador there with Silvia Patricia Ortiz, the 2:27.
Beautiful scenery at the finish line here in Sevilla. The sun is starting to shine and looking beautiful towards an end of a marathon.
We'll continue to see these arrivals. As we were saying, the fantastic expressions of joy that we get more reactions. It's Ibrahim Shakir now, the first Spanish man.
En el de España no daban las condiciones ideales para hacer una buena marca y tal. Yo el año pasado estaba preparando Sevilla, pero tuve una enfermedad, me quedé frito, pero bueno, aquí venía con muchas ganas, he entrenado mucho y he ido, o sea, muy mentalizado para bajar de 9. Bueno, al final han salido 2:9:16, pero bueno, estoy muy contento con mi segunda maratón y prácticamente estoy muy feliz ahora mismo y a disfrutarlo.
Ibrahim Shakir was saying there that in the Spanish Championship in Zaragoza, where he had his personal best, the conditions were not perfect for PB, where he got 2 hours and 13, but he had also prepared Sevilla last year, but he suffered an illness that denied him from running there, well, running here in fact, and this year he was very eager. He had trained a lot, focused on this marathon. He had the mindset to go under 2:09. In the end it was 2:09.16 for him, but he's satisfied with the result and the personal best. A good performance there by the first national athlete from Spain, showing really good progress in the distance of the marathon and getting some serious result finally under 2 hours 10, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He was also stressing how much he was training for today's race. He was happy to run just above 2 hours 9 minutes. I mean, it's not only what you prepare then on D-Day, you also have to take it out, and all the conditions have to be in place, right? I mean, I think it's an outrageous performance by Ibrahim.
And well, we'll be closing this with some of the best images. It's been a pleasure, Pablo Sanchez, to have today's Sevilla Marathon with you. I've enjoyed it very much. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope the rest of the audience as well.
Thank you, Daniel. This is a dream come true, and it's been a very pleasant experience here with you. Thanks. Bye.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias, Sara, que decir de ti. Extraordinario, por fin. Tenemos una mujer speaker también aquí en el Zurich Maratón de Sevilla. Y además, vaya profesional, señoras y señores, con un inglés perfecto, francés, italiano.